There's a version of this dinner that happens in silence. 2 plates, 2 phones, no fight, just nothing. Nobody is angry, nobody is raising their voice. And somewhere back before this, there was a sentence you decided not to say. It felt so small at the time. You remember it actually. You remember exactly where you were standing. It wasn't a big thing. Maybe it was the way they answered you without looking up. Maybe it was a decision they made without asking. Maybe it was just a feeling, something closer to hurt than to anger, so small you weren't even sure it deserved to be spoken out loud. You opened your mouth. And then you thought, not now. They're tired. It's not worth it. I'll bring it up later. Later rarely comes. And that's not because you forgot. It's because the sentence didn't disappear when you decided not to say it. It just moved. It stopped being something between the two of you and became something inside you, alone, replaying, growing a little sharper each time you turned it over. This is where most stories about relationships start in the wrong place. They start with the big fight, the door slamming, the accusation nobody can take back. But that's rarely where it begins. It usually begins here, in a moment that looked like nothing. Psychologists who study long-term couples have found something almost the opposite of what you'd expect. It isn't the presence of conflict that predicts a relationship falling apart. It's what happens to the small moments of friction that never get spoken. Researcher John Gottman spent years watching couples talk, recording their conversations, tracking their heart rates, following many of them for years afterward to see who stayed together and who didn't. He wasn't looking for the loudest fights. He was looking for patterns. And one of the strongest predictors he found wasn't yelling. It was withdrawal. One partner quietly checking out of the conversation, stopping the eye contact, the nodding, the small signals that say I'm still here. He called it stonewalling, and out of everything he measured, it was one of the clearest signs that something was breaking. Here's the part that matters though, and it's easy to miss. Stonewalling doesn't usually start as coldness. It starts as self-protection. When a conversation feels like it might turn into conflict, your body can respond the way it would to any threat. Heart rate climbing, thoughts narrowing. The sense that you need to get out of this moment, not through it. Researchers call this flooding. In that state, you're not choosing to stop listening. Listening is what stops working. So you go quiet. Not because you don't care, but because some part of you has decided that going quiet is the only way to survive the next 30 seconds. The problem is that quiet doesn't read as protection from the outside. It reads as absence. And absence does something specific to the person on the other side of it. If you're the one who spoke up, who finally said the small thing, or asked the question, or brought up what had been sitting in your chest for a week, and you're met with silence, something in you starts to escalate. You ask again, a little more directly. You bring it up differently, hoping this time it will land. This is a pattern researchers have studied closely in couples. One person moves toward the conversation, pressing for it to happen, while the other moves away from it, needing it to stop. It's called demand withdraw, and what makes it so damaging isn't just that it happens, it's that it feeds itself. The more one partner pushes, the more overwhelming the conversation feels to the other. So they pull back further, and the further they pull back, the more it feels to the one pushing like they're disappearing, so they push harder. Nobody is the villain in this. Both people are reacting to the exact thing they're afraid of. And this is the part where the small decision from the beginning starts multiplying. That one sentence you didn't say becomes 2. Then, 5. Not because you're keeping score, but because each unspoken thing changes how you read the next thing that happens. A missed text stops being just a missed text. It becomes evidence. A tired sigh isn't just tiredness anymore. It's proof of something you've already started to believe. You're not just reacting to what's happening now, you're reacting to everything you swallowed before. This is the amplifying part of the pattern, the part that turns a small, avoided moment into something much larger. Because now the conversations that do happen aren't really about the dishes, or the plans that changed, or the comment that stung. They're about all of it at once, compressed into whatever small thing happened to be standing in front of you when it finally came out. And when a conversation is carrying that much weight, it rarely goes well. So it confirms the fear that started this whole thing, that talking about it wasn't safe. Better not to bring it up next time either. Somewhere in here is the moment that decides everything, and it's not dramatic. It's not a slammed door. It's the first time one of you stops trying. Not out of hatred, out of exhaustion, and a quiet, private conclusion that this isn't going anywhere. You still love them, you just don't believe anymore that saying the thing will change it. So you stop reaching for it. And the strange, almost unbearable part is that from the outside, this can look like peace. Fewer arguments, fewer hard conversations. People sometimes even remark that you two seem so calm together now. But calm and connection are not the same thing. Sometimes calm is just two people who have quietly agreed, without ever saying it out loud, to stop trying to reach each other. By the time you get to the dinner table with 2 plates and 2 phones, nobody would call this a fight. There's no argument to point to, no single moment you could name as the reason. And that's exactly what makes it so hard to recognize while it's happening. A fight has a shape. You can see it, name it, sometimes even repair it. But a slow accumulation of things unsaid doesn't have an edge. It doesn't announce itself. It just quietly changes the temperature of a room until one day you notice the room is cold and you can't remember when that started. If there's a place where this chain could have bent differently, it isn't in some big dramatic gesture near the end. It's back at the beginning, in that first, unremarkable moment. The one that felt too small to matter. Not a perfect, rehearsed conversation. Just an honest, imperfect one, said a little too soon rather than a lot too late. Said while it still weighed almost nothing, before it had the chance to attach itself to everything that came after it. None of this means every silence is dangerous, or that every avoided conversation is the beginning of an ending. People need space sometimes. Timing matters. Not everything has to be said the moment it's felt. But there's a difference between choosing a better time and quietly deciding there is no good time at all. The first is patience. The second is the first domino falling, so lightly you don't even hear it land. So maybe the version of this story worth paying attention to isn't the fight you're afraid of having. It's the sentence you're already deciding not to say tonight, the one that feels too small, too inconvenient, too easy to postpone. Because it doesn't disappear when you swallow it. It just goes somewhere else and waits. There's a version of this dinner that happens in silence. 2 plates, 2 phones, no fight, just nothing. And somewhere back before this, there was a sentence someone decided not to say. It still hasn't been said.